multi-disciplinary. Okay, I am a very bad student. I don't follow order because, I've been professor for a while, and when I was a student, I was never listening to my teachers. I do whatever I want to, which is very rare because it was in China, not in North America. And Chinese culture is very conformative in the way that you listen. You're quiet. You're not supposed to challenge. And so, reflected by my title, I changed it. So I told them one thing, I did another. And also, I need to update my website, by the way. All the stuff that she's talking about earlier was really my research interest when I started the journey. I've been around for university for 8 years, and I'm very happy to be part of today's program. And I think it's great that we really connect to so many young students. It's my first time actually meet all of you in this context. And also, I want you to know that I'm very nervous. Can you tell I'm nervous? I'm very nervous because last night, 10 p.m., I look at the PPT, the PowerPoint, blank, 0 page. And I called I have a guru, he's the professor, very famous. We work together, we work on a book. Actually, we have 2 books. And I said, I'm stressed out. He said, why? You travel the world, you talk to the political leaders, you talk to the mayors and the governor, and you talk to the CEOs. You even presented, you told me, the mayor who used to be the guy you had a crush when you were 16, and you were okay. So what about this that makes you nervous? And you presented to your 4.5-year-old and my son, his class. I presented in front of 4-year-old. They're jumping around. I really don't think they're listening, but I was surviving. So what made me nervous? I don't think you're a tough crowd. If anything, you're too quiet. Your teacher asks questions, you listen, so you take different roles. So it's not about you either. I think it's about the topic. It's about talking about the future. And ironically, I think a different discipline, and I think Dr. House would really agree with that, is science and technology. We constantly look at the future, we try to predict the future, and then we try to really modify our science and try to come up with great things to empower human beings. And on the other hand, social science, we reflect. We don't predict. And I think what makes me nervous is this topic itself. It's very nerve-wracking because that's not our tendency to think about the future. If anything, I don't have an oracle message. What is a consumer need in the future? And we can think about a 4D movie theater, which is pretty cool. We went to Disneyland, and you actually felt like you're part of the Star Wars. And my son was very excited, and I said, wow, if it's a future movie theater, you sit there, and if it's rain, and you're going to get drained in that movie theater. That's called a 4D, in the future. So we can go through all the different scenarios of what consumers need, but eventually I think we have to come back and to say, really, what is the future, and how do we think about the future from business world? And more than anything today, I actually want you to adopt the mindset of managers, of the people who actually deliver brand, who actually manage brand, who actually interact with people who are behind the scene of the brand. So it's a different mindset. So if I can use a metaphor, I would like you to think of your brain is a whiteboard. I want you to think for a moment and get eraser and erase that brain, the mind right now. Get rid of the science message. Just give me a clean slate of mind, okay? And I'm going to tell you what I'm going to talk about today, which is a little bit different. And I thank you. And also, you make me my life is a living hell for a while because 10 p.m. there's nothing. But now I have more than 80 slides. I hope I can get through, but I want to show you something, my wild thoughts of the future. So here's the sections that I want to cover. Number one is, because I don't know. I really don't know what is future because I really think about a lot of trend and stuff in that way. So I did a Google image research, and I'll show you the results. And also, I think about in social science, actually in psychology, there's a famous professor, Lieberman and Trope, and they did research about the temporal construal level theory. They're talking about, we do think about the future, but ironically, when we think about the future, we think differently. When we think about the distant versus the near future, we think very differently. I want to show you that. And I want to lead to how these things are related to the brands and how we interact with brands. What is the role of brands in our life right now versus what we really need we really need. Doesn't matter when we are, even in the future, that's still what we need. So I want to give you that kind of a gap. And lastly, my favorite topic, I've been doing this for a while, is to study the so-called day brands. You know, you think about in Winnipeg, we have less than 700,000 people. We have 29,000 business. This is a little tiny city, and people ask me, Fang, where are you from? I said, oh, I'm from a town in China. I said, how big is that town? I said, 2 million. Right? So then you think about how many businesses are there in the world, and how come now all we talk about when we talk about innovation is Google and Apple. These are the only two companies, so they are the extraordinary out of the extraordinary. And I want to show you, via my research and a lot of consulting, is how do we design a system that gives us a brand like that? Because virtually the odds of being an Apple is extremely low. So I really think that it's important that I want to share with you the journey of how do we craft a brand that can have a tremendous impact. And by the way, iPad is going to transform how we process information, period. Google is going to affect how our memory is going to be stored, and how, you don't store your memory anymore. You Google it. So that our whole brain, in a lot of ways, over time, my son, think about the iPad, my son is having way much more interactivity, and his world is shaped very differently by interacting with that over and over. He started at 2, right? So it's very interesting that these business brands have tremendous impact, not only at a social level, at a cognitive level, behavioral level, but also identity as well. So we talk about that. And lastly, I know it's great to be Dr. House and other people talk about science, because today is about science and technology and engineer. But for me, I need a justification. So what is this stuff relevant to you? Maybe you're interested in science, and why are you here? So why it's relevant to you? I hope that my tendency is I over-prepare. So I have a lot of stuff. So maybe I have to cut some of them if we don't have a lot of time. So I want to start this journey with you, and I hope that we start with a clean slate of mind, and that we actually get some information that is useful for you. So I did research because I really don't know. So what is future? And it's really funny. My professor from Stanford, I was inspired by him. He started talking, he said, I don't know. So what is the most powerful research tool? Google Image. So I did the Google Image research, future. So I want to ask you, what are the associations when you look at the future, the image of the future put up there on Google? Yeah? Can you speak louder, please? You don't see what? Right angles. Okay. What else? Anyone? Future. Yeah, these are the images of the future. And this is the right representation in the minds of the artists, and a lot of ways we talk about future. Anyone else? What do you see? Yeah? Dark. It's dark. It's grim. What else? Lack of trees. What? Lack of trees. There is no, if anything, the organic, the communal, the farm, the thing. Humanity. What else? Yes? Louder, please. It's a technology. This is exactly what it is, the machinery. And I wonder where are the people? You don't see people in the picture of the future. And also the thing is, it is technology overpowers humanity in many ways, because that's how we think about the future. And also it's impersonal. You think about some of the images, we're talking about a city town, what did they call it? A cluster of the city. Actually, it's a huge, like a ship, a gigantic ship. It holds 200,000 people living in one organism. And this is like crazy. I'm thinking, oh God, it must be so lonely. You're in the tiny cell. And also, most importantly, when we think about the future, these images represent fear, uncertainty. And we don't know. But the thing is really that in the future we're going to become a different monster. We eat a different food. Our planet is going to be fundamentally different. Yes, they're part of it. But really what I think is important is maybe in the business world, the old plain gold truth will still be there. So I showed an example of actually think about the cereal, the razor, and the soup and tea and tires. Look at all the products and look at all these brands. This is 1923. This is 2011. You look at over so many years, the brands are there. So there's something about, maybe fundamentally, there's some good old truths about management, about how we craft a brand will still remain relevant to the future. So that's really my first cut at the topic, because it's really tough for me. So I started. And that's what I think about. So how do people, individuals, think about the future? So this is really some interesting thing that I talked about. Lieberman and Trophy, by the way, they're very influential nowadays. We'll talk about, so actually we think about the present and the future very differently. When you think, so we did a lot of research. Actually, we did research on CEOs, people who run the companies. We said, think about next 3 months. What are the salient thoughts in your mind? What are the things that come to your mind? And what are things important? Profit, laying off people, getting the money to make the organization going to the trip to Atlanta, grow business and buy this company. So all the stuff that they're thinking is very specific, very action-oriented. But then in another group of CEOs, we asked them, think about in the next 10 years of your organization, what are the salient thoughts? What are the things that come to your mind? So we didn't change anything, just a time frame. We want to be more meaningful. We want to create a community for our consumer. We want to be relevant. We want to be responsible. They're talking about something at a very different level. So from the theory, it's very clear that, interestingly, when we think about the now, we think about the specific things. We think about executable action. We think about the features. But when we think about the future, we think about that desire, the value. We think about the abstract things. And when you think about making a V-card, Valentine card for someone is what I do today. But when you think about in the distant future, you actually think about expressing love. So what I'm talking about is brand. You can say I'm selling price because I'm very cheap and affordable. Or you can say, you know what, we're not arrogant. We're trying to be humble, and we make it relevant. Walmart. Many years, Walmart is saying everyday low price. And that low price is killing them. Because it's a low price, they really cut the corner of the supplier of all the practice. They want to squeeze that profit margin. Everybody's suffering. That's why all the stuff that we get, bad quality. 5 days, 10 days, that thing from Walmart will be broken. And ironically, made in China. You throw an item in a garbage can and say, oh, broken, made in China. China, garbage. China, garbage. And I'm telling the Chinese people, business people say, stop working with Walmart and all these brands who try to squeeze you out of this profit margin, because the thing is, it's not about the price at the bottom line. That's why Walmart realized the union, employee, business partner, everywhere they go, there is a backlash. So Walmart said, wait a minute, it's really not about, we try to pursue that bottom line of profit. Most importantly, it is about trying to be relevant. So Walmart now have this other food section and enlarge their service. And Walmart's trying to say that we're there for you. We're one-stop shop. You go there, and your life will be taken care of. And we offer you a very affordable price. So the message is very different. I'm not saying that they're doing right or wrong, whether it's authentic. What I'm saying is, really, that's really the reality is we think at a different level when you think about the future. Quality. A lot of brands are saying, you know what, buy me, have this feature, that feature, last you a long time. But actually behind quality, that's why some brands are being around forever. It is about trust, because I'm never broken. You can count on me. I'm reliable, okay? I'm just like your buddy, because we do a lot of exercising in organizations, in the companies. Trust. Think about your class. There is a line of buddies in front of you. If you have to fall blindly, are you willing? Do you dare? And fall to whom? That's a tremendous test of trust. Brands, the same thing. It's not about the quality. Quality is a must, but it's about endurability of that quality promise. And also, does that make you have that sense of trust? We're talking about action and as well in the present kind of frame, but in distant future frame, we think about, so what is the meaning behind your action? So basically, this is another cut of the future kind of talk, which is, it seems that when we think about the future, unlike the Google imagery search, which is part of it, we have fear, uncertainty. We're worried that technology and science may take over the humanity, but at the same time, we do still want that old golden truths with so the future. We want that meaning. So that's my second piece of this. And then the third piece I want to talk about is to share with you, because it's a tremendous amount of knowledge out there in branding, and I've been doing this for 12 years. So I really want you to know that if you're lost, if you don't get it, if you're disconnected in terms of this, it's understandable because it's not as intuitive, because today the topic, the theme is the science. So I would love you to fire all your bullets and ask me all the questions, so give me a chance to later elaborate more. But let's talk about, so what is a brand reality? I'll give an examples. Based on a lot of research we're showing, if anything, we're not empowered. We're overwhelmed. You go to the superstore, you go to the Staples, you go to any store, the big retailer, you go to Costco. Look at, if you want to find a product, a cereal, a lotion, a book, a DVD, how long would you spend? How many choices, alternatives are you trying to go over? How long does it take? You think it's not draining? It's extremely draining. After that shopping trip, you're going to go to the restaurant. You're going to look at all the great food and the gratifying food, the fries. My son would say, Mommy, I want fries. I said, why? I'm tired. I'm exhausted. And that's exactly what we study. That the willpower, the energy, exhausted by all these choosing. Choosing is depleting. That's what we learned from the cognitive psychology. Choosing is depleting. If anything, we're too depleted. So brand reality is we offer too many choices. Superstore and all the big retailer box give us too much. What we really always want is customized. That's why there is always a room for Sobeys and Safeway, the small store, because they actually know what kind of customers go there, what is a lifestyle, what do they need, they need the fresh stuff, and based on their data, because when you scan, you know what, if you like privacy, don't get the stupid shopping cart, okay? Because every time you buy, they can predict what you buy. If you're pregnant, when do you become a mom? They know it. You can get all the brochure. You think it's a coincidence, you get a brochure out for pregnancy and baby stuff, you get this and that, because they can predict what you do and what you want. And this kind of thing, it's scary. That's a different morality issue. But from brand perspective, consumers like that customization. I don't have time. And that's why I don't go to these big stores anymore, because I'm extremely depleted after shopping. I go to smaller ones because I know exactly what I want, where it is, and I don't need to exhaust myself, and I can go back home and cook and play with my son. Right? So the thing is, we see that trend is customization. Is more needed than the big kind of store concept. The second reality is we are empowered by technology and the social media and everything. It's nice, but how often you feel like you spend hours and hours in front of the computer, you just feel sad and lonely. You play with your little machine, you play with your iPhone all the time. You even don't know how to read the signal of other person. You don't know how to read. Some people are a little bit annoyed, and someone is sad. You lose the skill of empathy. So I'm not going to introduce iPhone to my son until he's 30. I'm just kidding. Right? I know, I'm just kidding. But what I'm saying is, all these reality is, especially your generation, we are adapting, and I wonder my dad and my mom in their 70s and how they're adapting as well. And this whole world is becoming virtual. And this virtual brand and technology, what allows us is empowerment, because my mother can see my son via the internet, whatever. But at the same time is we long for that connection. We long for that going back to the farm, interact with animals, and that's why what Body Shop. Have you heard about the brand, The Body Shop? I love their stuff, right? So when Dr. House was talking about the research about food, smells so good. And I said, I wish this is food, I could eat it. Because organically, if it's out of something to eat, you can put it in your hair, you can put it on your face, you can eat it. And they're talking about the concept of organic stuff, but Body Shop is very famous, not only because they're just an enterprise trying to make money, it's because it's anti-animal testing, but more than that, they really, really help the farmers all over the world. And their employees are paid to go on the trips to help other people. It's actually their employee, the whole company is back to the community. And employee, talk to people there. It's tremendous, their story. It's about being reconnected to that social and human and community. So that's also something we need. Our world is molded in norms. You have to study hard, you have to get an A, you have to go to college. And the product, we have a lot of products, generic. And what we want is a sense of uniqueness. If everybody's driving a Honda, you know what? What can be more unique? How many of you know this one? What is this? Huh? Velocity. Harley Davidson is not a motorcycle, it's a Harley Davidson. And you think about Harley, hey, this is just a bike. How much does it cost? A lot. So why do people buy it? I'll tell you why. So I'll show you a video. So this is an example of how we are dying and longing for that identity and how brand is trying to help us. Give me one sec.
We believe in going our own way, no matter which way the rest of the world is going. We believe in bucking the system that's built to smash individuals like bugs on a windshield. Some of us believe in the man upstairs. All of us believe in sticking it to the man down here. We believe in the sky, and we don't believe in the sunroof. We believe in freedom. We believe in dust, tumbleweeds, buffalo, mountain ranges, and riding off into the sunset. We believe in saddlebags, and we believe that cowboys had it right. We believe in refusing to knuckle under to anyone. We believe in wearing black because it doesn't show any dirt or weakness. We believe the world is going soft, then we're not going along with it. We believe in motorcycle rallies that last a week. We believe in roadside attractions, gas station hot dogs, and finding out what's over the next hill. We believe in rumbling engines, pistons the size of garbage cans, fuel tanks designed in 1936, freight train-sized headlights, chrome and custom paint. We believe in flames and skulls. We believe life is what you make it, and we make it one hell of a ride. We believe the machine you sit on can tell the world exactly where you stand. We don't care what everyone else believes. Amen.
At your age, if you were my kid, I would say bad people in that video. Huh? The tattoos and all this, like an outlaw kind of look. But the thing is, the people who drive a Harley is not just the blue collar tattooed, they're typically bad people. They're the CEOs. They're the people who are doing tremendously well. So when you think about it, a $100,000 bike, get people go nuts about it. It's not about that bike. It's about that ride. And people, tens of thousands of them, get together to talk about their life because they like the outdoorsy. They're trapped in their corporate office, and they're trapped by this modernity of life that you are so, if anything, trapped in your little cell and do your own thing. It's about going out to the nature and explore it with your buddy, with your friend. And these people share some values. So in a way, brand is not brand anymore. It's a community. It's an identity. So another thing is, when we talk about brand, when we talk about what we're buying, is actually what is the assumption of consumers? Are you the one to buy the attribute? I buy the lotion, the Dove, because of the moisturizing? Well, I'm buying something else because consumers are treated as people who have values and a meaning, and that meaning make you identify with the brand. And again, think about the Dove, the Real Beauty campaign. Have you seen this one? Do you want to see another video? Huh? Okay, let's do that. So we're going to show you that we're not selling at all. So it's not about selling my moisturizing attributes of the Dove. It's about something else, something tremendously important to thousands of women. And I want to show you why it's so successful.
Ready, 5 please. Camera forward. And we're recording sound. Play it.
Too bad, okay? The girls. So when we look at what is Dove trying to do is they try to find something for women, what the women want. It's a world company, it's a global company. All over the world, 200,000 women they surveyed. Only 0.1% are telling them they're happy and they think they're pretty. 99.9% saying they're ugly. And Dove is like, this is not right. You know, we create all these products to make women feel beautiful. How come they all come back and say they look like a piece of shit? Why? Because ideal. The media show us those images. So Dove said, you know, wait a minute. We're not a part of that. If anything, it's a very traumatizing agent. We want to tell people, be who you are. The beauty is from internal. That's brand. And people buy Dove now with a new campaign, their sales volume, everything. It's not simply because just about that functional attribute. It's a meaning that brand represents. So I want to show you these messages to actually illustrate the message that actually the old truth is when the brand interacts with the consumer, what do we need is still that old gold truth, which is culture, identity, meaning. My second part is, how do we do that? I mean, you can have your doubt later and say, oh, it's just a marketing gimmick. I disagree. We'll talk about that because there are a lot of people who do bad things. A lot of people who try to use marketing to manipulate people. There are a lot of people try to use a differentiation, but you do have iconic companies who actually make culture, identity, meaning part of that brand. And these are the brands who will sustain and who will go into the future. I want to show two examples. One is Google, another is Apple. Apple started selling computer. How do other people sell computer? We make beautiful computers. They're beautifully designed, simple to use, and user-friendly. Do you want to buy me? That's how normal people, all the competitors are selling. They're selling attribute. Apple. Everything we do, we believe in changing the status quo. We think differently, we think thoroughly. We challenge the status quo by making great products. We're selling an identity. When you look at over the years what Apple is doing, everything they do, they shake the norm. I'll give you an example of iPod. When iPod was introduced, the whole MP3 technology is out there. It's in Taiwan, it's in Asia, but they didn't make as big as iPod. One of the things about iPod is not about that device itself. It's the engineering of the business model. Because of the iPod, it shakes, it changes how we consume music. We buy music by song, not whole DVD. The digital music consumption is really what iPod is about. It shakes the whole music and record industry. iPhone. Many years ago, iPhone was this, like what is it called? The flip through, the finger touch, the what? Yeah, this kind of technology, like using fingers at the beginning interface. It was out there in Norway. But for iPhone, it's not about that piece of attribute. Is iPhone goes to all the service provider. Like MTS, iPhone never go to people like MTS. They will go with Rogers and Fido. They're saying, we want to shake the power structure. In the past, the service provider like MTS, and now these people have monopoly, and then Apple said, you know what? We go to the second guy. We go to the smaller guys because we want to lead that game. So everywhere they challenge. The success of Apple, I don't want to go to, and of course you wait hours and hours for the launch of the new product, and this is really their sales. You can see how they're taking off. But most importantly, it is about how they do it. I want to introduce you a concept just like a human. We have the brain, we have the arm, we have the leg, and we have all the mind. So with brand, I want you to look at in that system, you have the mind, the soul, which are the visionary. In this case, is Steve Jobs. And you have the company, internally you have the people who deliver the brand, and also you have the consumer who react to the brand. If we use that system to understand Apple, maybe I should have finished Apple and then go to the last segment, and I'll go to question Q&A, because I can see that your attention span is actually winning out, and I can see that you're moving your butt around, so that's a bad signal, so I should move on very quickly. One thing about these companies is about when you deliver that kind of experience, what about your internal structure? Apple has a network-oriented structure, so basically their design guys are the guru, unlike any other company. So they have a unique structure, that's number one. Number two, you can see the layout of the company, the campus, is very unique. Nobody else is having it, because for other people, they have a gigantic line of people working from the beginning to the end. In Apple, it's all circular, it's all network-based. So if you understand the mechanism, the organism, you look at how the structures shape their function. This is one of the examples. And also, what is the DNA? I want to show you two things. Apple, because there is a crazy guy, his name is Steve Jobs, and he's not replaceable. And there's two things about him. He's very authoritarian, he's a perfectionist. And most importantly, the innovation model in Apple is very different. It's about a design-driven. If Steve Jobs said, create me a human, this human has no arm and no leg, the human looks beautiful, that no arm, no leg will not affect aesthetic look of the human, will not affect the functionality. This person can still walk around or fly around, whatever, you design it. He wants that perfect, flawless iPad, whatever design feature, and then the engineer have to really run around and say, we have to make it happen, we have to make it happen, because of the craziness, all the innovation from Apple is happening. Okay? Everything. iPad, everything iPad is thinking of and doing, is all patented because of the craziness of his vision in design. And also I want to talk a little bit about, they're talking about this guy. There's never any illusion about what company focus. They're very focused. And they actually talk about who is leading the company, the visionary. And I want to show some example of how Steve would immediately focus on a bad visual element, and he would really trash all the idea, we're all failing, but eventually we know it's working. So basically, he's a crazy guy. In Apple, in the culture, it's a no company. Whatever ideas you come, within 1 minute, if you cannot sell it to him, he said no. He's relentlessly focused. It seems to be really bad, but the world's most innovative company. I'm going to contrast right away. So this is the top people, a few people who are running the organization. We're talking about the structure of the company, how they do it, what is the DNA. So this is, did you see that? Do you know this? Because of uniqueness of their culture, because of the innovation, they can come up all the time. They're in the situation, they can lead, they can be different, they can mock. They're mocking the Microsoft. It's very outrageous, but you know what? And make Microsoft, this guy, do you know this guy? You're not a business student. That's why I hope that, who is this guy, by the way? Who is this guy? Who is this guy? Yeah, he's a comedian, right? He's very famous. Who is this guy? Who knows this guy? Or who know about this guy? Please raise your hand. What is his name? It's Bill Gates. Bill Gates, right? He's very low profile. He's very low profile. He's never in front of TV. He's never in front of media. But he is in commercial for Microsoft. People say, what happened? It's because they're so challenged by Apple. They have to come out and defend themselves and saying, you know what, we're not a mediocre. We're not a boring. We are for everybody. It's like a cup of joe. We're for everybody. So more than ever, the challenge of Apple, make Microsoft stand up and say, you know what, we're not meaningless, we're not a third rate, there is a meaning for our existence. I want to show you how powerful a brand like Apple is shaking everyone, the norm, the big brand like Microsoft. And I'll show you something, this is something interesting, is Steve Jobs. Let's start with this vignette, and I will come back to how
the only problem with Microsoft is they just have no taste. They have absolutely no taste. And what that means is, I don't mean that in a small way, I mean that in a big way. In the sense that they don't think of original ideas, and they don't bring much culture into their product. And you say, well, why is that important? Well, you know, proportionally spaced fonts come from typesetting and beautiful books. That's where one gets the idea. If it weren't for the Mac, they would never have that in their products. And so I guess I am saddened, not by Microsoft's success. I have no problem with their success. They've earned their success, for the most part. I have a problem with the fact that they just make really third-rate products.
You can say he's arrogant, but this is really what the whole innovation and the whole creativity is about, is Microsoft simply is not innovative enough, and they're lagging the game. At the same time, I think what I'm trying to do is, when we study the technology, let's study the culture of innovation. How do we engineer companies? But this is another very innovative company with a very different flavor. This company, the core is not found the soul, the heart, the mind of the leader. It's that team. It's like a family. In the Apple family, the parent is a god, is a person who say, do this, do that, high pressure, very much like the tiger mother. You know that book, The Battle Hymn of the Tiger Mother, high pressure. This is very much like the panda mother. Very nice, do it, encouraging. And it's a very different flavor, same success. How many people Google is having? Almost like 35,000. And how do they manage it? What is the DNA? What is their value? This is a Google. I like it. It's very cool. Focus on the user. All else will follow. It's best to do one thing really well. They started with browser, and that browser, that search engine, the Google search engine, is an engine with mind, the engine with intelligence. It's crazy, actually. All your data, if you're onto Gmail, they know you more than anyone in the whole world. All your secrets are all there, and they have it. It's crazy, actually. We talk about the liability. Fast is better than slow. So the company, if it's innovation, they really encourage you to really jump on an idea and do something about it. Democracy on the web. They don't believe in censorship. Everybody is trying to go to China and make money, and they're saying no because we don't like censorship. Everybody was horrified, but Google said no. They actually exit from the market. The need for information across all borders can be serious without the suit. Very casual and informal. Okay? So great is not just enough. Great is not just enough. So look at all the values, and I'll show you how this is the DNA of the Google culture. But most importantly, the employee given 20% of the time to do whatever project they want, whatever projects they like. Don't think about their workload, their task. And out of 20% of the time, all the most innovative products and projects are coming from that 20% time. So what I think the message here is, the same innovative company, the formula of innovation is very different. It is about the democracy. It's about, the most importantly, the freedom to give the employee. And if anything, they keep saying yes. I don't have time to show the video of their VP, their president, and of the innovation. What he says, we're dealing with a bunch of kids. We let them have fun, and we encourage and nurture every crazy idea they have. And therefore, you have the success. Look at this is where Google employee work. I would love to work at a company like this. It's like a little zoo. It's like a little kid's garden, you know? And they're having fun. Really, work is fun. Fun is work. And work is about uncover that mind of innovation and doing something different. But also it has problems. You can see how many products. So we're too crazy. It's more than they can manage, actually, 160. So this innovation has its price. As to how it will sustain, we don't know. So anyway, so what is the relevance to you? This is the important part. I am onto the journey. You know, I have traveled several continents. I had degrees over 3 continents, and I went to college when I was 16. Eventually, during the past 20-some years of exploration, would actually find that what is intuitive is actually not easy to replicate. All the success stories of the company, all the great things about the brand is what is the science part of it? What is replication? What is the mechanism? So actually, with all my work, I developed this model in a way that when you look at a company, it's about how these different parts, the mind, you know, your brain is an executive function, the brain sends a signal, you feel hungry, and the brain sends a signal, your arm will work. Human is very synchronized. How would you make a company, organization synchronized? Not only that, as a baby, you grow, your mind grow, your body grow, and your body, your size has to be measurable, you know, compatible with that size of that brain to deal with complexity. How would you adapt? And also, most importantly, is how would you sustain? Very amazingly, all the analogies facing human is analogous, is applicable to the sustainability and management of organizations. The sad truth is a lot of people don't know how to manage. A lot of people don't know how to design that structure, how to design that culture to make brand excellent and meaningful. Therefore, I hope that you're going to follow that path if that interests you. If you do, this is what I think are the 6 skill sets that we need from brand leaders, and you can see which part of the skill you have. The first one is look at the world from the sky. Bigger picture. After I interviewed so many CEOs and we're working on a book on the brainstorm from China, 5 Fortune 500 companies, all we see is to be that leader, you need to have this integrative thinking. You have the big picture, you have wide exposure to different disciplines, you can piece together, you can see a pattern that nobody else sees. That integrated thinking is extremely important. That's why my business student, my PhD student, I said, if you are a professor, I would like you to be a psychology-oriented and to be in the ivory tower forever. I don't want that any distraction. But if you want to be a CEO, you should have science, you should have art, you should have management, you have philosophy, you should have a wide exposure of discipline because eventually you deal with people from the pocket of the knowledge. You need to learn how to integrate. That is a very powerful tool. Number 2, execute like a scientist. Idea to action, idea to product, product to the functionality, precision. If your factory is wrong, the food processing plant is problematic, the impact is disastrous. So when you deal with organization, the same thing. Detail, precision. You have to be really rigorous. So a mind of a scientist is highly, highly valuable. Design like an architect. I don't know, when you go to college, I'm sure in 2 years, in 1 year, what you deal with? Final project. What you do, you work with a group of 5 people. Everybody has 5 projects, 5 courses, and someone don't care. You want to have a stellar performance. You want to be that group leader. You have to design the task. You have to manage. You have to see how everyone is working with everyone. This is a very important skill set, is how would you design a system? Organization theory, organization design, system design, very valuable. And again, this is not where we should be. We need people who are very good at it to execute. Dream like an artist. If you run a business, if you think like everyone else, it doesn't matter how great your thinking is, nobody will buy it. Steve Jobs, Google, all the thing is about dare to lead. That's why Harley Davidson, why people spend $100,000 to buy a stupid bike is because they dare to send all the signals, they dare to blaze trailblazer. So I really feel that very important that confidence in what you want to say, in that think outside the box kind of innovation, creativity, it's very important. Focus like a Puritan. Too much temptation for you, too much temptation for all of us. Eventually, when you try to get anywhere as a human, as an organization, willpower. So I didn't tell Dr. House, food choice is a very prevalent topic in marketing. What we study is your willpower, your control. You say no to that food when you don't need it. You don't use that food as a coping mechanism. It's not that you're sad, you use the food as your friend. You're happy, you use the friend as a celebration tool. You actually listen to your body and see, are you hungry? The thing is, a lot of times, organizations, Wall Street, corruption, company go bankruptcy, bad practice is all about seduction and the temptation. It's all about the lack of strong will of that leader. Morality, Puritan, very important. I mean, sometimes the 6 skills that you adopt are the skills of your success. I don't think everyone has all of them, but I think you should have some of it. Absorb like a baby. It's very interesting that, when Steve Jobs said, the Zen philosophy, Buddha, is about every day is new. You adapt, you learn. Every day is a new start. That learning ability, Amazon started as a bookseller. Amazon, how would you categorize Amazon? They're not this online retailer, or this big brand, like, for example, everybody is trying to sell there. They become a platform. You think it's an online retailer? They have the Kindle Fire. They have the pad. They become a manufacturer. You think it's a manufacturer? They have the supply chain. They have the whole logistic company. All the products you buy from other retailer, Amazon deliver for you. You think it's a delivery fleet? Amazon has an IT company. Because of their ability to maneuver data and to store data, they actually service for Microsoft, for all the big guys. They are everything. What about Amazon? Learning. It's like my son loves the little robot, all these monsters. And he asked me, which monster do you think is the most powerful? I said, the monster who learns the fast. The learning will take a very transformative journey. So is organization. I want you to take a very quick look at this 2011 ranking of the top 100 brands. And you look at the logo here, you probably would see very quickly what are they. This is top 10, top 22, top 20, 35, 38, 48, 62. Okay. How many? Yeah? What? None? Wrong. One? Which one? Which one? I don't have it. Think about what is the thing. Many years ago, it is a handheld device, and everybody excited. BlackBerry, RIM. Very sad. I teach this class all the time. I become Canadian. I went to New York, and I was introduced to an ambassador. He said, so what are you? You're Chinese? I said, I'm Canadian Chinese. But the sad truth is, when I talk over and over with business leaders, with the people, country has brand too. Every year, the world consumer, all the very authoritative institutions rank country. We're either number 1 or number 2. We're tremendously diverse and beautiful country, but we don't climb up to that brand. I'm not saying it's the only dimension, but my question for you is, can we get there? Because if our value is so beautiful, our culture is so attractive to so many, the top talents of all the world, of so many ethnicity and culture, how do we embed it into the brand, and how do we deliver it as a global brand, and how come we're not there? What about us that are not getting there? Okay, so I'm invited to the panel of branding Winnipeg, branding Manitoba, country branding, going back to China, they have the opposite problem. They're too flashy, they're too successful, but then the association is very negative. And I was on this board of branding Israel, beautiful place. If you go to Israel, beautiful place, but all you know is war and bloody war, and they're doing it wrong. So all this ideology is clouding out the beauty of the country. So my question is, this is what we need. If you ask me, I'm a business professor. I teach students MBA, EMBA. I deal with business and companies. I deal with all the politicians. Eventually, this bugs me, and I want to go back to you and say, what is your ambition? If this is something you're interested in, I think it's a great direction to go into. All right? I want to thank you for the time, and I hope that you enjoyed the presentation. Thank you. Okay, I'm running over time, right? Thank you for the luxury of, yeah. It's too long to my taste because normally I do presentation 15 minutes top, and we have a lot of interaction, but this is a very big office, a very big classroom. And so, do I have questions? Yeah? No? So your teacher will ask questions? Someone has to ask questions. You take your role. The teacher or the student? Yes, over there in the back. Do you have questions? No? Okay? So what does it mean? The presentation is boring? The presentation is bad? I'm not interested in business? Yeah? I want one question from you, otherwise I won't let you go. Yes?
What is your favorite brand? Like if you could choose one brand that you think they've executed flawlessly and you see that as kind of the ideal model, like would it be the Google or the Apple, or do you see another brand?
It's a hybrid. Unfortunately, in the world, you know, think about it. What is your ideal version? This is Fang standing in front of you with all the flowers. Say, what is your ideal you? The ideal is that the reality is not good enough. So you ask me what is my favorite brand? My favorite brand would be the blending, the hybrid of Apple and Google. The hybrid of Apple, in a way that the Apple, we're talking about Exccute like a scientist, was a very strong focus, was a very lean strategy. That's why the speed is tremendous. Think about it. How can their product wow the world over and over with such a short time frame? That execution ability is really what Apple is good at, and that's very important. That's really about what Steve Jobs is driving it. The problem is, this kind of system is too dependent on one individual. He died. Who would be able to replace him, become that person? And that's why I think it's very sad for him. If I were his advisory team, I would urge him 10 years ago, 5 years ago, that he should actually start Apple company, Apple University. So every organization has a university or training because they want to implant the culture DNA into the people who can think and behave like Steve Jobs. The good part, not the crazy part. Google is problematic because the house is run by the kids. The kids are having fun. That's a source, organic source of innovation. The problem is the house is out of control. Too many things going on, and they have functional ADD, attention deficit disorder. I mean, I'm joking, but it's true. So that's why their business model has problems. That's why they are having crazy amount of product lines, more than they can manage. So the thing is, I wish, now we know the DNA, the formula. If you start your own company, if you manage a company, you can mold that company with the directions and dimension you want to go to. Okay? Anyways, this is very long. Okay? I want you to use another eraser, get rid of that on your mind so that you're ready for the next presentation.